Hello and welcome to the channel. Be sure to share, like, and comment down below. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button for daily videos on news and politics. Ron DeSantis, Democrats intentionally amplified info in the memo. On America's Newsroom, the Florida Republican congressman says the Democratic rebuttal should be released and won't alter the Nunes memo.
It's a memo showdown in Washington as the top Democrat on the House Intel Committee, Adam Schiff, says he's not revising his counter memo as he waits to get the redactions back from the DOJ. Schiff calling out the White House in front of reporters yesterday.
We're not going to make any revisions to it. The only question is what redactions will be made. And obviously we'd like to keep those to a minimum. The White House has a different interest. I think their interest is in redacting anything that doesn't reflect well in the White House. Obviously, the president had no concern over the GOP memo, notwithstanding all the warnings from the FBI and Justice Department. But we're dealing with it responsibly and going to do our best to get it out as soon as possible.
And then the elevator arrived. Joining me now, House Oversight and Judiciary Committee member Congressman Ron DeSantis joins us this morning. Congressman, always good to see you. Thanks for coming on this morning.
Good morning.
There's clearly a lot going on here and a lot of back and forth in this memo. We're all wondering whether or not we're ever going to really see the Democrats' memo. But Adam Schiff making a really important point. He says we're not going to revise it. There are going to be redactions to it. So if we do see it, what does it look like?
Well, Sandra, I think he wrote this specifically for the purpose of getting into this situation. They intentionally put a lot of footnotes, amplifying information in a way that the Nunes memo did not. The Nunes memo was written with an eye towards eventually releasing it to the public. So they weren't putting a lot of extra information or amplifying information. It was basically a lot of factual statements. So he knew what he was doing. He wanted to get in this situation where he can accuse other people of trying to cover this up. But I think it should be released. Whatever redactions need to be made, I don't think will alter what they're arguing. I think that they're basically arguing things that are tangential to the core points that Nunes' memo makes, and they actually quote that important footnote in the initial FISA application where the FBI mentioned that there could be some political motivation for this. And I think the American people should be able to judge for themselves. Was that the type of candor that you expect? I mean, they knew it was paid for by Hillary. I can tell you this, they did not write that in the memo.
And do you think we will eventually see it?
I think we will. I think it's just going to go through a process. And, you know, for the Nunes memo, remember, the FBI objected really because they said there was not enough in there. There was omissions, and the main omission they objected to was they think Nunes should have put in there that Christopher Steele had been a credible source in the past. I mean, I think that may be somewhat relevant, but I don't think it was really crucial to what the Nunes memo was trying to show.
And you say that, Congressman, as someone who has seen, you have read this memo, correct?
That's right.
Look at this tally here. Congressional sources have passed along this tally of lawmakers who have actually seen the Schiff memo. And it's interesting. Republicans, 103 of them have seen and read it. Democrats, 81. A total of 184. More Republicans than Democrats have actually seen and read that Schiff memo. What conclusion can you draw from that?
Well, there's certainly more interest in this on the Republican side. I mean, the Democrats, from the day Donald Trump was elected, they furthered, along with their friends in the press, a collusion narrative about Trump's campaign in Russia. Here we are, Sandra, almost a year and a half later. We still don't have the evidence of collusion, but what we do have evidence of is really disturbing connections between Hillary's campaign, Fusion GPS and Christopher Steele, and the upper echelons of the Obama Justice Department and Comey FBI. And we see that time and time again. And so that's something that we're interested in conducting oversight over. I think a lot of my Democrat friends, I mean, it does undercut the narrative they've been pushing.
There seemed to be a moment yesterday where Christopher Wray, the FBI director, cast doubt on the Republican memo and the accuracy of that memo. Listen to this.
We had then and continue to have now grave concerns about the accuracy of the memorandum because of omissions. We provided thousands of documents that were very sensitive and lots of briefings, and it's very hard for anybody to distill all that down to 3.5 pages.
So because of those omissions, he's questioning the accuracy of the Republican memo, Congressman.
Well, the FBI was provided the memo for release. They could not point to a single inaccuracy in it. Yes, they said there should have been more in it. But here's the thing, Sandra. They're the ones who refused to provide all the underlying documents to the Congress. We've been asking for that for months. The only thing they allowed was one committee member, in our case it was Trey Gowdy, and 2 staff members to review it. People criticize Nunes for not reading it. The reason he didn't read it is because he wasn't allowed to read it once Trey was picked to do it. So they should allow all members of Congress to do it, and then this way we could have a much clearer picture. If they think that there are omissions, then show us those omissions, but they have kept all that very close to the vest.
Meanwhile, 2 leading senators have identified this email that Susan Rice wrote the day of President Trump's inauguration, detailing a meeting that she had with then President Obama and other high-ranking officials. They want to know why she wrote this email to herself, specifically saying how a meeting done with the president was done by the book, and she says it twice. They're still waiting for an answer about that. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's a very odd thing to do just as you're leaving the White House. That was probably one of the last things she did while she was in the White House. Trump technically was president by 12/15 that day. So she's writing this, recounting this particular meeting and saying, hey, do it by the book, do it by the book. It's just a weird thing to do. So, yes, she needs to answer questions. But I would note that January 5th was the day before Jim Comey went to Trump Tower and briefed President-elect Trump about the existence of the dossier. And, of course, that meeting ended up getting leaked to CNN, and there was a big cloud about the dossier. So I think there are a whole bunch of questions from the whole transition, a lot of the leaking that happened, and how the Obama administration handled some of the Trump transition folks.
And, of course, that was a very important meeting on Russian interference in the election. We'll see if Chuck Grassley and Lindsey Graham get any answers on that. They've asked for them. Congressman Ron DeSantis, thank you for coming on this morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Be sure to share, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and tell me how you feel about this report. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great day. Let's make America great again. Peace.